guys, so welcome to What to Eat. This has been a long time coming. We've had a few requests. If you're wondering if I've been putting it off, the answer is yes. I've been hiding in that cupboard over there trying to put this off. Not really. It's a long topic, you know. It's like, you know, what to eat. It's like, how many days do we have to do this this topic? So what I'm going to do, this bit by bit. I'm just setting a timer now for 10 minutes. As soon as that's up, I'm going to stop the video and then I'll pick it up again and so on and so forth. So at the outset, what I've got here, I'm sure you can't see it as usual, but I'll talk you through it. I've just got a few basics of what we're actually going to cover in this video series. Now, most importantly, I'm going to get through some of this today, which is a lot of the basics. It's just the basic building blocks that you need to have down to understand what to eat. And it's the same reason, you know, when people ask me what to eat, if they find out what I do, you know, they say, oh, well, what do I eat? And it's kind of like, well, for the same reason that most books they're just not good for you to actually take and read a book on nutrition and you think, oh, well, now I know how to eat. It's just, I need to know so many things. I need to know what you're eating now. I need to know what your childhood was like. I need to know what your bowel movements are like. I pretty much need to know what they look like, what they smell like. Kind of draw the line on what they taste like. But like, you know, back in the day, when we had real doctors, not the doctors we have today, back in the day, they would actually physically go through your feces if they're going to look for some sort of disease or what's wrong with you. They'd actually, you know, they'd actually do that. That's, you know, you need to get into a lot of depth in order to let people know what they're meant to eat and what they're eating that's wrong at the moment and so on and so forth. So the best I can do with this video series is to break down some of the dogma and things that you guys are currently, subscribing to. And just some of the reasons why you're not getting it right at the moment. And eventually, after all the videos, we're going to get down to here, which is eating intuitively. And I speak about intuition in a lot of my videos. It's going to take you some time to get there. I'm not going to beat about the bush. But the more every day as we break down dogma and introduce you to what's real and what you should be looking at, you're going to start to notice certain signals and they'll correlate to other signals in your body. And eventually you're going to start to become more and more intuitive to the point where you'll be able to prescribe your own food as medicine. You'll be able to continually rotate and keep changing up your foods to meet your needs, your caloric needs, your metabolic needs, your nutritional needs and everything else. You'll know when you can fast, when you've got to eat more animal foods, when you've got to eat more plant foods. But the basics are never going to change. The basics such as organics, biodynamics, you know, the water that you drink and things like that, they're never going to change. So I'm going to cover all that for you so you can get that down. And then eventually as we go through the video series, you'll start to learn more and more about foods and how they've come to be, how we've come to be, and how we've strayed offline. I mean, and if you doubt that we've gone off course, you know, just look at how many diet books there actually are. There must be 1 million more books, DVDs, you know, YouTube videos, e-courses, actual courses on nutrition that you can do, and, you know, like, where's it getting us, really? So hopefully I'm going to break that down. Now, throughout the series, we'll be looking at types of foods, foods to avoid and foods to eat, so I can sort of give you guys some simple steps to take. You know, the point where one man's elixir is another man's poison, same reason, I just don't recommend books. You know, you take a book, people go, oh, I found the best book ever on. But, you know, it's like, it's always going to leave out the greater majority because you literally, like I say, this is going to take 20 hours or something if I was going to do it properly, which I'm not. It takes a long time to get through all that you would need to know about nutrition and tailoring it to you. You can't just get your information from a book. Sure, if you've got a whole volume, an encyclopedia, a library of a variety of good books, yeah, you can piece it all together, but, you know, one book. We're going to look at fats and the various types of fats, why they're important, why some aren't important, and how people have it skewed as to what are good fats and what are bad fats. We'll look at protein, same thing, different types, carbs, different types. We'll look at your macros. So they're your macronutrients, fats, protein, and carbs. We'll look at your micronutrients, vitamins, enzymes, minerals, things like that. We'll look at things like vegetarianism, veganism, paleo diet, whatever you call that, ratio-based diets. You know, there's a lot there that we'll look into. Let you guys know what some of the good parts are and what, you know, obviously most of it's not good. And then eventually we'll be getting down to, once you know what to eat, then we'll get down to food as medicine. Because I could say to you, you know, eat, say, 3 meals a day of these ratios and whatever. But if you've got diabetes, or if you've got low thyroid, or if you've got just, how many diseases are there? if you've got something, that's not going to work. You need to tailor it specifically for certain conditions, and that's also where nutritional endocrinology comes in. And throughout this series, I'll be directing you to people that I highly recommend. I'll actually probably be starting the One Hard Approved list based on nutrition, and I'll start it here. This has made an appearance in a couple of videos. We'll keep making appearances. This is Paul Chek's book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. Now, of all the books I've ever come across, when I just said that you can't just rely on one book, this can't prescribe to you nutritional medicine or endocrinology. It just can't. But what it can do is give you a solid base as far as learning how to eat, when to eat, what to eat, and things like that. Highly recommend this book. Now, Paul says the same thing that I do. I mean, if I've got somebody that's got a good base, I'm working with them one-on-one. When somebody comes to me with pretty well no base of, say, exercising or nutrition or whatever, I just get them to get this book, because basically what they're going to do is pay me my hourly rate to give them the basics of what's in this book. And Paul says the same thing. When Paul charges $500 an hour, me and Paul, we agree on a lot of things, and I've learned a lot from him. I'm not a Czech practitioner, but I've learned a lot from him. But we differ on a couple of things, and money is one of them, but we'll get into that later. He charges $500 an hour, and he goes, if you want to pay me $500 an hour to read to you from my book, then, that's your choice. But either read that. I mean, that costs $29 to get from Book Deposit. I'll put a link in, bookdepository.com. It's free shipping, so $29. And I've recommended this to a few people, and they haven't done it. And it's just, if you're not willing to spend $29 on that book, which is going to give you most of what you need to know, then you don't actually want to know it. You're talking shit. So buy that book. I'm just going to say it straight out. I don't normally tell people just what to do, but buy that book. It's going to give you a really good base on everything that I just mentioned before. And a lot of what I'm going to cover actually comes from the book as a base, and then we're going to get you guys learning how you can grow it from there. Again, just a bit of perspective. A lot of people, they'll go, I don't want to spend $29 on a book. I just want to learn it off a blog. Blogs in that are written by people who aren't practitioners, who just learnt from the bits and pieces of shit that they've picked up from the internet, and just now they're marketing their own blog or their own buy my program for $20 or $100 or whatever. It doesn't. If it was getting results, it would be getting results, and it's not. So that's why these people aren't practitioners. So you just got to start looking in the right places. And again, people will balk at paying $29 for a book, but they're going to spend $60 on their pants, or their $160 on their shoes, without even or $30 on going out to dinner and eating inorganic food, which isn't going to, you know what I mean? Just a bit of perspective, people, and you'll be getting a bit further along than where you are now. So let's just start. Hopefully we've got a few minutes left to actually get started on the video. Before I say anything else, I've drawn a heart here, and I just want to reiterate what I said in the I think it was the How to Eat video. Eating mindfully is as important or more important than what you eat. So while we're going to cover what the best foods are to eat, always keep at the top of the list, you've got to eat mindfully. You've got to be present while you're eating. You've got to, I went through this in the other video, so watch that one if you haven't. It's the How to Eat. Eating mindfully is as important or more important than what you're going to put in your mouth. So let's get started on the basics. Organics. Now I'm going to refer to Paul straight away. Paul has a YouTube series on what is organics. I'll put a link to that in the bottom. Please check that out because it'll save me a lot of time. But basically, organic food, I'm just going to simplify this. So there's no such thing as organic food, right? There's food, and then there's the shit that the rest of the world produces. Processed foods, standard farming methods where you're using pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, things that kill the soil. And the soil is important because the soil, all those things you're trying to kill, actually put nutrients into and aerate the soil. And that's what gives the plants, or the whatever, its nutrient value. So by trying to get rid of these things that you think are pests, you're actually degrading the nutrient value of the food that comes out of it. Not only are you degrading the nutrient value, you're poisoning it. So the poisons get into the cells, they're not just on the surface, they're in the whole plant or animal or whatever you're eating that comes from commercial farming methods. You're ingesting that, and you're only, just to go into some cell biology quickly, if you've got a cell, right, and you've got nutrients on the outside and no nutrients on the inside, just osmosis, because there's fluid, there's a membrane and fluid. Nutrients on the outside more so than the inside, then by osmosis they'll go to the inside of the cell. Now, if that cell's full of toxins and poisons and things, it's blocked. You can't get nutrients into the cell. So that's just, yeah, it goes a lot deeper than that. That's a really basic example. But not only are you poisoning your body, you're degrading the land. It's going to get to the stage where there's not a lot of fresh, clean water left on Earth, and there's not a lot of good quality soil to grow food on. And we're going to have to rely on, if you've seen the Matrix movie, some slop, some gruel that's meant to meet. That's going to be interesting if it gets there. I don't think it will, because as I said in other videos, I think we can turn things around. But it comes down to the basic. It doesn't come down to protesting against a lot of things and trying to get people to do things your way. It just comes down to eating natural, local, organically grown foods and not getting all these packaged foods, processed foods, and supporting Coles and Woolworths. Or if you're in another part of the world, what do you guys have? Tesco's, Walmart's. I don't even know if they sell food, but you know what I mean. Just go to local, organically produced foods, which is generally your local farmers markets, and just stop supporting the commercial world, because it's really degrading not only you but the earth itself. And it's, if you can't see where that's leading, then there's some problems there. So yeah, local and organic. I'll let Paul talk more about organics, because he'll explain it really well for you. Moving up from that is biodynamics. Biodynamics is actually basically as natural as you can get. I mean, organic is grown with organic soil. It's without artificial pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, and other poisons. But biodynamics goes one step further. It's doing all that, but it's also basically its own ecosystem. It's grown on certain moon phases. It's just grown the way food, we get, say, some sort of plant, and then we plant it in a field and make crops from it. Whereas biodynamics is basically how, if we just landed on this planet and we were just walking around, and then we see all these plants and animals and things and just growing and eating and things, and then it's its own ecosystem, and it's all naturally sustained by its own water, its own everything else. That's what biodynamics is. So that's the next step up. And what I want to hopefully finish this video up with is growing your own. Now, it's not hard to grow your own. There are so many advantages to growing your own foods. Now, for a lot of people, and especially if you live in an apartment or you don't even know where to get started on permaculture and things like that, let me give you this. Try just growing one plant. Grow some mint. Grow some herbs, it's the easiest thing. Or grow some tomatoes or something like that. Just one thing in one pot plant, one plant per household. If you imagine if everyone in your neighbourhood did that, once a week you'd swap a couple of your tomatoes for some of their lettuce, or somebody has some chickens, you'd swap some of their eggs for some of your, pawpaw, or your mint, or something like that. You know what I mean? Not only is that going to be very, very healthy for you, it's going to cut down on the corporatization of, your Coles, Woolworths, big corporations. They're going to lose a lot of their power because you're not supporting them. It's going to bring harmony to the neighbourhoods. I mean, the world that we live in today is basically, at every step of the way, is trying to segregate us further and further and individualise us. We all want our own money so we can have our own choices and our own do this. I want my own computer, I want my own car, I want my own this, that and that. And all it does is it allows us to get further and further into our own world and stop. We think we're communicating and things. I'm probably getting off topic as I usually do, but we think, we're really connected now because we've got Facebook and emails and I can text you this and call you that or whatever. But it's not. It's not the same as having an actual community. And we've really gone away from that in this day and age. And it's something I think we really need to get back if we want to regain our strength and our health as a humanity. It's an important step. So imagine that, everyone in the neighbourhood just swaps little bits and pieces around. Now, further benefits. It's going to make you happy. Same as having a pet. Having something living to look after is actually going to increase your joy of life. It's going to add, there's just numerous benefits to this. And kids too, like a lot of, actually, let's not use any examples in case they watch it, but the amount of times I've heard screaming kids all day around, the neighbourhood and things. Show me a kid that eats natural foods and gets to be out in nature that just screams and has tantrums and screams its head off. I just don't think you'll find them. So, and kids whinge about what they can eat, parents don't know what to feed their kids. Let them play, let them make food, let them have fun with it. Food is fun. And if you let them get a bit of mud on them and put it on their face and let them look after a plant, I guarantee you they'll love it. It's more fun than a play. You might not think so, but they'll kick their PlayStations or whatever into the corner if they get to do all these natural things and play in mud, not get yelled at for getting dirty. Let them grow a plant, let them look after it. I guarantee you they'll love it. And going a little deeper again, the plants that you grow and nurture yourself, and even to the point where you might spit in the soil or run some water over your skin and let that go into the soil of the plant, it will start to recognize some of your DNA, and it'll grow some of its own just energetic value and nutrients. In order to, let's say you've got certain toxins in you, it'll help to detoxify your body in that certain way. If we all grow our own foods, we'd be very, very healthy. Going to organic farmers market is great, and it's certainly a very healthy thing to do. If we were actually growing a lot of our own food, it's another step further along. And there's nearly no excuse for not doing that. I mean, I live in a fairly good house. I don't have a lot of land outside, but I've got a few plants outside. Even if you live in an apartment, same thing. One pot plant, start with that. Grow it from there if you can. And as I say, it's just very, very healthy in a lot of ways. It gets you more. It gives you a better relationship with your food. Food then just doesn't become this thing that just comes from a supermarket, and you're in your house with nothing natural around you. You go to work with nothing natural around you, and then you just have this money which isn't natural, and then that just buys this thing that it magically appears in the aisle of a supermarket or comes in a box or a packet or something. People have food the wrong way around. So, it's just going to give you a better relationship with nature and with food, and that alone, regardless of the nutritional value, is going to increase your health from the food you eat because of the connection that you have with it. Again, going back to eating mindfully and having a connection with your food. So, moving along, looks like we've still got some time. Dogma and beliefs that surround food, that is huge. I'm going to actually have to spend quite a bit of time breaking down a lot of dogma and the beliefs that a lot of people have surrounding what they're eating, what types of food are good, and that's going to come into all these diets and things that come out, and why it's not good. But we're going to get into that, and there we are. Okay, we're actually finished. I didn't even hear that go off. Probably gone over time. All right, we're going to leave it there. Stay tuned for part 2 of what to eat. We'll start breaking things down into a little more detail. Hopefully I'll set the scene for you. If you do have any specific questions, please email me and write them in, and I'll tie your questions into my format as we go. And hopefully we'll get you guys a lot more comfortable with what to eat and making your own choices, and just having a better relationship with your food, as I say, and being more comfortable and not being so. A lot of people I see and I understand are very there's too much information, they just don't know where to start. So hopefully I'm going to start making you more comfortable about where to start with food, and we'll start that on the next video. See you then.